when you're within and in tune and in touch with yourself, and you're just smiling because that's just who you are. You're not smiling to get a reaction out of somebody, because if they don't smile at you, then you're like, oh, I feel worthless or less worthy. No, you're doing it because it empowers you. This is your state of being. This is your joy. This is your presence. And regardless of circumstance, with no insistence, no resistance, no care about the outcome, this is just who I am, then that empowers you. And now you start to associate yourself naturally with people over time that are more acknowledging of that.
It goes back to his first thing that Bashar talks about that you shared with the listeners. I am who I am.
Mm-hmm. And I think you were just showing and embodying that you are being fully present in your walk, right? And open to connect with people. Mm-hmm. And I think the matrix I saw online, it's a material trick. So people that are on their phone or distracted by life or distracted by the news and wanting to talk about that or focus on that or be in their phones, they're not present and open to connect. They're open to be brainwashed and told what they should pay attention to. While they're not in that situation, they're in a happy, open walking area to connect with anyone that passes by, but they're not open to do it because they're in their material world.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Remember You. Thank you for tuning in. We love you guys. This episode is about the 3D version of our life versus the 5D version, and how our Earth right now is making a conscious choice to split into these two spheres, and they're two vibrational differences in energy. Cannot wait to share all this information with you guys and give you some tips and tricks on how to level up your game, level up your vibration, and move to the 5D world that we're all meant to be in.
Awesome. That was a great intro, by the way. Yeah. That was good. All right, so I want to just go into my definition of 3D and 5D and what that is, because I think it helps to clarify what we're talking about here, because we hear it all the time. Simply put, the 3D is the materialistic world, the world governed by your five senses, and anything beyond that, where you start to get into thought, vision, imagery within the mind, self-conversation, things of that nature. Now you start to go above and beyond 3D and into that 5D space. And so anybody can relate to that, I think, to some extent. It's just how immersed are you in that world? How much are you immersed into believing that your thoughts create things, that the imagery and the feelings and the premonitions that you have, the dreams that you have, the signs, the synchronicities, the things that science can't explain, that's above and beyond, that transcends time, that transcends space. And that's what we would consider the fifth dimension. So you can be in both places at the same time. And the way I would like to give a visual for that 5D is you can be at the top of a mountain and you can see the valley below. You can still experience and see the valley, but you're at the mountaintop. And that's kind of how I would equate 5D versus 3D. They both exist in the same place, same time, so to speak. But 5D is just at a higher point of view, more awareness. And to take this discussion further, is dimensions are just different states of consciousness. It's all one thing. But when you're at the 3D world, you could have 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, so different levels of consciousness within 3 dimensions, just as you can perceive sight in different dimensions. I can see the colors, but then I can start to see the texture, and I can start to see above and beyond that, and that's where you get into different levels of dimensions within that third dimension. And fifth dimension, just to wrap up, is the same type of concept. You're just at different levels of awareness.
Yeah, and I think, I know once you're getting into the different levels of dimensions, you also start to realize that time and space aren't linear. And by what I mean by that is when we're born, our energy body is literally the size it's always going to be, and we grow into it as we grow. But the memories and different things like that, it's proven that we can recreate memories and make them different than what we actually had back then. So what does that mean? That means that time and space actually don't mean anything because we have control with our mind to go back and change those memories. And it's something that if you have a sibling or you have kids, you can see this happening, right? Some kids grow up totally different than another child. Well, it's the way that they view their memories and the way that the time and space are in their aura, I guess is a good way to say it. I have a really hard time with words on this subject, but it's like understanding that it's fluid and you can attract the memories back and decide to change those memories even though it's not happening today.
This is where like you're having a hard time putting these into words because words are actually the limiting factor that get you above and beyond the third dimension. So when you start putting labels and words to things, you're actually taking yourself out of that experience and in the moment of now, which is above and beyond time. And now you're starting to identify, I think it's like a Buddhist saying, it's like once when you identify or teach, I don't think it's Buddhist, but it's a concept, is once when you show the child the bird and you ask them to name the bird, they no longer see the bird. They no longer see it as it was, which was just experiencing the bird. It's
right. And someone said this about the elephant too. Like you put a word on it and you all of a sudden know, like, cause we've been taught this is the elephant that's gray, it's huge, or the bird and it flies.
And anything outside of that concept can't exist, even if it does.
Yes.
And
exactly.
like you just don't see it. So your brain filters, what is it, like 99.9% of the information out there. You're analyzing probably billions of bits of information at one given time, and you're only able to filter a small portion. Think of that like that the light spectrum and what's actually visible is like just a fraction of what the whole entire light spectrum that is available to us. We're only gathering the visible light spectrum, but there's infrared, there's gamma, there's all sorts of these other light forms that we can't experience.
But I like what you said about imagination, because then the power of imagination, if you can really cultivate your brain to imagine anything, then you can change your life like rapidly.
It's as quick as you want to receive it, right?
Yes.
Or as you accept it.
And then if you're aware that everything's connected, and so anything that's happening in your body can be assigned to something if you're willing to look at it or look it up and figure it out, or anything around you, like animals, anything happening, like we saw a fox, a squirrel, whatever. You see these things and they have meaning. If you're willing to look up the spiritual meaning, that can guide you in your life.
We just had this experience on Monday where I took her to a graveyard that I frequently go to for just my peace and solace. And we were catching a sunrise. So instead of doing her session there, we did grounding and we just had a heart-to-heart talk and everything. And as we were talking, I forgot what the topic was, but a coyote came across. Yeah, we were talking about illusions. Okay. So I was describing how the graveyard is often feared, but it's all fear is an illusion. And this graveyard is a beautiful, peaceful place. The sun was golden and it was bright, shining on us, and the graveyard's beautifully, taken care of, beautiful landscape, and very peaceful when you start to remove the illusion of fear. And as we were talking about illusions and physical reality being an illusion, we saw this coyote run across from us, and I looked up the spiritual meaning behind coyote, and it's the trickster. It's there to make fun of the illusions that we make up in our heads.
Yeah, and then a squirrel, I think I looked it up, and it had to do with enjoying life. They make fun of life. So it's I think the message is to not take life so seriously. You're going to learn your lessons as you go, and you're living your life and you're experiencing it. And it's better when you're having fun doing it, right? So that's what I would love. If I could just enjoy my life and with the people that are around me. Can't we just enjoy it? Can't we just enjoy the experience and let it be that, okay? And I think those were symbolisms for that. To step into your power as a human being, to realize you don't have to control everything. You don't have to have things be a certain way. You don't have to predict anything. You just have to live your life and let it unfold, because I think we all have purpose. I think we all have a mission, and especially with this podcast, to be able to convey the thoughts we have about things that it's not being shared the way we're sharing it, I think is very powerful. And so if we don't let anything sway us or distract us from that purpose and mission, we can just allow things to unfold, and our purpose unfolds, and we learn from it, and we learn to be in the 5D.
There was an Alan Watts lecture. He was talking about how death implies life, not necessarily the way around. Like, death is back to the cemetery and being there, and this place is implying death, but really what it's alluding to is life. When you start to get into the definition of death, Neville Goddard states that death is just a change in consciousness, right? So when people pass from the physical plane into the spiritual plane, it's just a transfer of consciousness, or a change in consciousness. And we can die every single day, multiple times a day, and that's the key to life. So death implies life. If you're willing to let go of the prejudices, the judgments, the old ways, and frankly, 95% of what we think on a daily basis is being repeated. And are those thoughts actually your own? It's societal norms, it's parents, it's judgments that were applied to ourselves that we now outwardly portray. And it's, if you start to take these concepts on, you are now ascending. Well, I get a little cringe with this 5D thing. It's like just a state of being, but it's like you're going above and beyond what the five senses are doing.
And what we need to go back to is how you tend to your mind. And so, like, think about where you guys were. You were at a graveyard, and like what was going on in your mind, and what can you pull out of your mind and plant new ideas that are more fun and more creative, which is what the Coyote is. And like, how do you pull out where you've been and all your experiences and come up to elevate your thought process so that you can create even more and better things?
Let me ask you guys something. I ask my clients this: how many times on a daily basis do you think about the life that you want and intend to live?
I guess I would have thought all the time, but maybe, I don't know.
I think it's few and far between.
Yeah. Because
I have to set time aside to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm going through my life as a mother, as like, a hypnotist of like having my clients be happy, advising my business, like my advising and my investment. And I'm not thinking about, I've just let my life unfold a lot of times in a chaotic way. And so I've been very thoughtful over the last, I was just actually telling Michelle this, about doing more meditation and more quiet time for myself so that I have a more intentional life. And it's interesting because, we pick words. I just learned this. So this was the first year I've done this, is where you pick a word for your year. And my word was intention. And I thought, I didn't do a very good job this year putting my intention in the right places. And so I asked like my spirit guides and my higher self to help me get through this stage in my life right now, because I'm still going through this transition. I've got a lot of balls in the air, and make my life more intentional and envision and feel what it's going to be like for this podcast to make an impact on so many people's lives, to see that by changing our parenting and our adults in this society will help change our children's viewpoints and help us all get to that 5D faster. The more people that are talking about this, the more people that are giving love, the more people that can change their consciousness faster is just going to help accelerate this, where we can really all be what we want this to be, a more cohesive world as working as one.
And that's what I want you to answer, is how often do you envision what you want your life to be? Like, how often maybe we can share this, because
it's very frequent.
Day?
It's very frequent.
Every morning?
It's morning, mid-morning, late morning, afternoon, into the evening. And how I do it is I'm observing myself, observing you, is what I try to put myself into a position of, where it's just like you're watching the movie and I notice you say something, so I'm going to call it out. It's like
but
the position that I put myself in.
But is that your light? Like, is that so
it's a reflection.
How does it work? Because I don't understand this. So
that's
listeners,
interesting. A reflection. Go ahead.
So like what you're reflecting here right now in regards to, explain the last thing that you were talking about, because then I got caught up in watching myself. So
I was talking about, like, I got lost in trying to be this big investor.
Oh yeah, okay.
And,
So what came to mind as you were talking about that is that it's already changed, right? That's the correction that I would embody, is going, no, Christina, the change is already there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not that it has to change; it is already changed. Right. And so now you start to just embody that state.
But okay, so I am really, I'll admit that I'm not good at this. So from a listener perspective, how do you do that? And help me do it. Like, how do I get there?
What I think about when I say embody it. So like I say I'm a estate planning attorney. You have to just embody it. You're already that. And I get however many clients a month, and this is what it is. You can't start thinking, I don't know this, I can't do this, I don't get these amounts of clients, I don't serve anyone, because then you're just taking yourself out of that vision.
Okay, so I definitely don't do that.
Yeah, so.
But I would say that I do more of, I take on too much, and then my action, so then I'm like, I have chaotic action.
And that's most people. They think when they say, I'm this person, I'm a CEO, I'm a billionaire, I have to do all these things so that it can manifest, so that it can happen. No, you're already it. And then you're going to be guided by life to do what you need to do to
know which actions to take.
I don't know if you call it prophecy or whatever. It's just going to fulfill what you are.
How do you discern between chaotic action and
when you start
purposeful
to see
action?
Stress. Why I want people to understand, you got to take care of yourself, because you can't create and manifest from a state of, I'm tired, I don't think I can make this happen, so I got to do so much to force it to happen.
I can't stress that enough. Like, I think the biggest missing piece that people are ignoring is their health, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and financially.
And how do you create?
And the big thing that they're missing is the physical. Like, you can have somebody who's mentally putting in the work, somebody who's eating right, somebody who's working and generating financial security, but the physical aspect where their joints hurt, they can't sleep, or they're feeling like the body, like, you know, the car's creaking and the suspension is shitty, and it's like,
okay. So then this is about how change happens, right? So before, it's like in the 3D, it's like resisting unwanted things, controlling things, competition. So, and then if
me versus them,
to move into 5D, we're really stressing to our listeners that you have to release. You need to focus on making inner changes and focus on what the feelings are for your wish fulfilled.
Right. So why it comes back to limiting beliefs. Like, let's say there's a person that wants to get fit or wants to feel good. Like you mentioned joints. Like, I have a cousin. He did one of those marathons that it wears your body down, and he talks about things about his talks about his body and the way it feels of getting up, sitting down, whatever. It's just I don't know. It's just joints and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not Justin, right? I can't tell him what's going to help him, right? But there's a limiting belief, I think, when people say, well, I have these situations going on, right? But I'm not going to do what I need to do to heal them. Yeah, I have an opportunity. I can go talk to Justin and have a conversation. I could go talk to another personal trainer that I've been recommended and have a conversation and move forward with my goal. But if you don't believe that can be healed, then you're not going to do it.
I agree with that.
But if you think, like I did, that I can be healed and something can happen and he can help me, you go and do it.
Well,
You
and
go meet with the person.
I'll give another example, and it'll be a personal example for me. I was always running. I ran a half marathon. I did tons of HIIT classes. I was really high performer and thought that I had to have this perfect body and like all these things had to be perfect. Well, now I've taken a step back and I've realized like I had so many things that I needed to address before, like I didn't realize that hard hitting wasn't helping me. So I made a decision, and I tell myself every day, I am healthy, I feel good, I look good in whatever I'm doing. And I went to Justin, I went to another doctor to really get some other testing done. And they said, hey, there's like a lot of things going on with you. And one of which is that my adrenal glands, and I know this is like a functional medicine thing and like the health world doesn't agree with this, but my adrenal glands are like not functioning right, which then throws off. And actually, I'd love to hear, I know this isn't what it's about, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Because I was open to understanding what was wrong with me, I'm starting to get this insight, right? And so the advice was, don't do HIIT classes. Stop, do yoga, do something that's going to calm your mind and walk. And that's all you need to do. You don't need to be in the gym every day because your body needs to rest. You don't let your body rest. And so this last 2 weeks there has been some other things going on, but I've been taking the time to like sit down and relax and rest and go for a long walk, clear my mind. I never gave myself permission to do that before.
And that's what we all need to realize is once we set the intention, we have to make a move. Whether it's to go to a trainer or go to anyone,
yoga,
functional medicine, or do something. Because it's going to lead you to the next step and the next step for your path of what's going to heal you if the intention is set. Because you're getting to the point where you're like, I've done all these things and that I know I need a rest, but I know there's other things that I need to work on. So you have other things, that you're realizing, and it's all steps. It's all steps for all of us. But when someone's not making even one step, you have to think, where's that coming from, right?
So, to relate to your adrenal fatigue that a lot of people are going through, and this is high performers 101, is you're going through high cortisol, figuring out ways to suppress the cortisol, usually through some type of fixation, drugs, food, etc., that suppress and calm down the cortisol. And then you have these spikes, and over years, it burns them out, so to speak. And what really happens is the adrenals still produce. It's just your body goes, we're not accepting what you're producing anymore. You burnt out the receptor sites. So your adrenals are still functioning, but what's happening is that circulation the hormones circulating through your body you become like resistant to the effects of cortisol, and you become resistant to those. So you gotta let your body relax. So from a standpoint, yes, there's functional medicine techniques that go through it, but the message that's even higher, 5-dimensional, is your soul is telling you you've been surviving and running on fear and lack of security for so long. I'm going to just knock your freaking knees out and tell you to chill the fuck out.
Wow.
And you got to calm down. Right. And so it's like high intensity interval training. Got to go to work 17 hours a day. Got to do this. Got to do that. Right.
I got to do this 1 hour.
So
walk.
your soul's like, shit.
No.
And you're going to get you got all these signs that have been given to you throughout the entire time. Right. But we ignore them. And then finally you get a 2x4 across the face and you're like, okay, I'm listening.
Yes.
All right. What's going on? And so, yes, you address them through functional medicine and nutrition and sometimes intervention or a combination of things, Western medicine too. But the higher message is looking at what is the body telling you and what is the soul telling you? What is spirit telling you? What is God telling you?
It goes back to what you always say is your body's your temple. And so you've got to treat it like that.
It's literally giving you everything you need. And you are not your body. Your mind and your body is your mind manifested.
Oh, yes.
It's not separate. It is your mind. And so you look at somebody and go, with discernment, let me be clear, and you're not treating your body right, That says something.
But see, and then most people don't know how to treat their body right.
And they don't know.
Why you go to a professional, right? And find out, what should I be eating? How much should I be resting? How much should I be doing or not doing?
Going back to the topic, no, sorry. Yeah. See, again, correcting and stuff like that. It's like, it's for myself, selfishly. But then it's to reflect to you. And my intentions are to not berate you and say you're wrong. It's to say, no, this is righteous thinking. This is the way that, is it going to empower you or is it going to disempower you?
Yeah.
And that's where you start to build momentum in your life, because now you're training people around you to think the same way you're thinking. And then when they're thinking the same way you're thinking, now they're correcting you. And this is the synergy that we built up. But I want to finish a point here with your question where you're like, okay, how do you get to a point where you're thinking about this day in and day out all the time, and you're just about creating the life that how do you embody the life that you desire? And how do you create it right now? And that's the kind of paradox between it, where it's like, visit the future, but stay in the now. Visit the future and stay in the now. But how you do this is by asking questions, by a beginner state of mind, being curious, not knowing or thinking that you know everything. And the greatest student is the greatest leader. It's the one who's like, I don't know, and I'm going to learn. I don't know, and I'm going to learn. Or I don't know, and I'm going to figure it out.
That's awesome.
It's like that.
We were vibing here because I just wrote down leaders, and that's the question, right? So the best leaders are the students, because what are they doing? They are asking questions to learn. They're not telling people, they're not dictating. And this is the difference between a 3D and a 5D,
right? Exactly.
So like as a leader of a company, as a leader of my home, as a leader, as a parent, because you're a leader, right? That's what your job is, to ask questions and call people out and pattern interrupt them.
But you're also a student, because the children are teaching you things too.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like you're just as curious as them as to what makes them tick. And then you create this dialogue between you and your children where now you're both learning. Mm-hmm. And then go ahead.
So you could be saying, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wise, I'm open. So open to knowledge, information, opportunities, open to what can come from your own brain. Because you can have inner knowing as well about a lot of things that you don't realize.
That's another 5D thing too, because it's asking the question from a point of like, help me get a download from all the spirits, God, what is out there that I'm not looking at, and help. What was your quote about Einstein? Like, understand that you don't have all the questions or all the answers, and it's okay to ask. It's okay to ask and learn, because we're here for that.
Yeah, the quote is something to the tune of, Einstein said, if I had to fix a problem and my life depended on it, or find a solution to a problem and my life depended on it, and I had an hour to do that, I would spend the first 55 minutes asking the right question and then spend the last 5 minutes to receive the answer. And so it's all about just asking the right questions, because when you think you know, you fit it into a box, and now you're in the third dimension, and you're no longer in this endless, infinite possibility of solutions and opportunities.
So there's a good story about that, or a study that was done about, they gave kindergartners a bunch of sticks, and then they put like these are like 5-year-olds, right? And then they put like really like CEOs, like really smart people together, and said, okay, in the next hour, we're going to see who can work together to build the highest tower. And the kindergartners won because they didn't have any limitations. Mm-hmm. There was very little words, and they just worked together to build the highest tower, instead of second guessing, pushing, going against all the unwanted things, trying to letting the ego drive. And so it's almost like if we liken, how do we raise our vibration? How do we get to this next level of consciousness that we're all searching for and know is out there? Let your inner child come out.
Yeah. Yeah. They're the best teachers. And I was just kind of segueing into a topic here, because I was looking it up as you were talking here. If you want an embodiment of, I think, the best personification of 5D and what it looks like in terms of the 3D world, I'm just going to go back to Michael Jordan. The level of where he played at and how he played was above and beyond anybody who was playing on that court. And it was because he was on a different level. And it was because he was not in competition with anybody around him. It wasn't him versus anybody.
It was inner work.
It was inner work. It was just his ability to be in the now, be in a state of flow. Like that's 5D. You want to be anything where you see like the movie Soul, Disney movie is a great movie to show, where it's like this musician who, when he plays the piano, he's a jazz musician and he just gets into this state of flow, and you just see they do a great job of illustrating like the feeling that it is to be in the moment. And that, like that state, it's pure bliss. It's pure, like you're not feeling, but you're feeling, but it's a paradox, right? Like you're just in that state.
And you're not pushing.
No.
You're not pushing for something. You're not trying to.
There's no resistance. There's no insistence. There's nothing.
And there's no orchestrating, because I feel like a lot of times you try, like most people and myself included, you try to orchestrate what you want to happen.
Control everything. Yeah.
You know, this, all right. So are you familiar with The Power Hour by Bashar?
Yeah. No, enlighten me.
This is a great meditation. You can get it on YouTube, and I'll pass it on to you all. It's amazing.
We'll put it in the show notes for the listeners.
There's somebody who put together like a great illustration of it. And it's like a 20-minute video that goes in the explanation of it, but I'll give you the cliff notes. So it's 12 statements that you do, and you can do it 1 minute each. You can say them 3 times. You can say them for 5 minutes each and do a whole hour of it. But each one just kind of layers on or opens up. It's like peeling an onion, and you get deeper and deeper, or you ascend higher and higher as you go through these principles. And the first one is, I am who I am for a reason. So you repeat this and really embody it. And it's just to celebrate who you are. You are here for a reason. You are specifically you in all your trials and tribulations. Your mess is your message, and it is there to enlighten the world. The second one is no insistence, no resistance. So think about, as I say these things, these are things that I embody and believe. Like you could hold a flame to me and I'll say, yep, I absolutely believe this. I know it to be true. Life gets more peaceful when I accept who I am and I have no expectation of the outcome.
Yes.
Right? Just let it go. And it's a paradox, because you care, but I don't care. That's the thing. And then the third one is I am an indestructible being at my core. So you cannot cease to exist. The fact that you exist right here, right now, means that you are a part of creation, and creation would not be whole without you. And then the next one is the past and the future are an illusion. The only time is now. Self-explanatory. And then everything happens in perfect timing. So, Trey being late or going here instead of there, perfect timing, because you don't know what could have happened.
And they call it also divine timing.
Yeah, exactly. And there is no timing.
Yeah.
That paradoxically. It's just like it just syncs up, right? Uh-huh. And then the next one is, my life is my own. No one can live it for me. So no matter what you say, what mom and dad say, it's your choice, and you have it. It's on you to live your life. Nobody can live it for you.
Because you live in your head too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So is that all of them?
No, we got a few more here.
Oh, okay.
We'll keep on adding here. So the next one is everything. I'm unconditionally supported by creation. Another way to put it is I'm unconditionally loved. And unconditional means completely unconditional. So if you want to be depressed, if you want to be angry, you are supported in that. If you want to be loved, if you want to be rich, if you want to be fulfilled, you're completely supported in that. So whatever point of view you take on, go at it, sure. So it's your choice to choose that, which is another principle. Then the next one is I am an expression of nature. So meaning that you are not separate from nature. When you go out into nature, you are a part of nature, even if you're in a manufactured home or an office. It's all part of nature. It all derives from it. So you're connected to everything.
Just to connect with that one is just like, if there's a need, like there's a need for estate planning attorneys or whatever, it's because the whole collective of this area, they're saying they need it, right? So you come into being, whatever your profession is, you're coming into being to serve the need. So to look at it that way.
Yeah. It's a collective consciousness that is calling you to go, I need to do this. I need to pursue this. This thing excites me. This podcast excited us. We came together because there's a collective consciousness that is calling for it. And we're showing up to do it. Right. Just as.
Yeah. Cause it's like if you, so I sometimes think, and it goes back to your ideas that I'm like, oh, well, other people are doing it better. So you don't want, but if you're called to do it and you're showing up every day, there's a reason that you're here.
Yeah.
And whether it's impacting 20 people or if it's impacting 20 billion people, it doesn't matter because you're doing what you're called to do and you're doing it in a state of flow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we got that expression of nature. So you're completely connected to everything and all of it. So it's like you're never alone or you're never lonely. You're always connected, right? You're part of the process. The next one is I always have exactly what I need. So it's you're out in the middle of the desert. You got no water. I have exactly what I need. No insistence, no resistance. I'm an indestructible being at my core. So if you're at the low of the low, do these words empower me? Fuck yeah. Like I can't lose, right? So these words just build upon each other and you're repeating this over and over. There's a few more, but you just recite these and I trail off. I go into thoughts that happened previously and I go off. I'm not hitting it. I'm not batting 1,000. I'm batting 300.
Right.
But by any standards, that's fucking good. Right. And in life, it's like failures lead to success. It always does. It's not the other way around. So I always have exactly what I need. The next one is I give and receive joy, love, and compassion. I give and receive joy, love, and compassion. And simply, as Bashar states, why not?
Right.
Right? What else would you choose?
Yeah.
Right? Would I want to be angry, frustrated, and pissed off? No. Joy, love, compassion.
And that's an easy one for our listeners to just change the way that you're thinking. And it goes back to the 3 R's we talked about before. It's like figure out, recognize what's going on, release it, and then fill it in, put something better in there, which is love, joy, bliss. Just change the way you're looking at the situation.
It changes the way you see things, and the way you see things changes the way your reality. Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
And the faster that you can learn to do this, the faster you can change these feelings.
Yeah,
because it's something that there's like this transition space that they talk about between the 3D and the 5D. We're not going to get to 3D. We're not going to get to 5D if we don't transition into the 4D. And that's the place that I think a lot of people are in.
Well, I'm going to say this, though. It's not linear.
No, it's
right?
not.
It's not like 1, 2, 3 or 3, 4, 5.
I think you can switch between 3D, 4D, and 5D, but I think you're kind of like in this pattern of this pendulum that's swinging back and forth.
Well, it's broaden it out. I know we're trying to bring it into concept for the listeners and everything, but what I want to do is like you're in all, and it's like when we
make the choice.
You make the choice, and the ideal choice is to not even know that you're existing in any of these dimensions. You're just being.
Yeah.
Right. So again, back to these 12 principles is these principles get you to the front door, but you have to walk through the door and completely disassociate from these principles to ultimately be the highest version of yourself. So if I'm walking down the street and going, I'm joy, love, compassion, but I'm not feeling it. And then I start to feel it. And then I just start to focus on the feeling. And then I just start to let come whatever needs to come in. And then that's what I roll with, because all it is to stoke the fire.
So can I share a story of
Please.
my own personal? So lately, I've been changing my whole being of saying every person that I interact with is going to come to me, and they're going to be the best possible version as they can be. And every interaction that I have with anybody is a loving interaction. I'm getting the best out of that person, and I'm giving them the best version that I can possibly be in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've noticed is and I'm embodying that in everything I do, and I'm literally saying it, I'm feeling it, and like I'm going to the grocery store and I'm looking at the cashier and I'm smiling.
Yeah.
And I might be having a shitty day. I mean, we've had some crazy stuff happen in my family these last 2 weeks, and it's not all happy, right? Mm-hmm. but I'm choosing to come with a smile and put my best foot forward and put whatever happened in the past, right? So I've been doing this, and I've been taking my walks because of my adrenal fatigue. I can't be going on my runs or anything and like all this stuff. So I'm walking past people and I'm smiling and like interact, and I'm like trying to say, hi, how are you? Like, because you never know, somebody passing by might need to have a conversation. I help people change their mindset. Maybe that's somebody that needs my help, right? The people who are not on that level walk right by me like I don't exist.
And we were talking about this earlier. It's like, that's the difference between 5 sense 3D, fixated on the phone, on material possession, technology. Something outside of yourself is like that third dimension. But when you're within and in tune and in touch with yourself, and you're just smiling because that's just who you are. You're not smiling to get a reaction out of somebody, because if they don't smile at you, then you're like, oh, I feel worthless or less worthy. No, you're doing it because it empowers you. This is your state of being. This is your joy. This is your presence. And regardless of circumstance, with no insistence, no resistance, no care about the outcome, this is just who I am, then that empowers you. And now you start to associate yourself naturally with people over time that are more acknowledging of that.
It goes back to his first thing that Bashar talks about that you shared with the listeners. I am who I am.
And I think you were just showing and embodying that you are being fully present in your walk, right? And open to connect with people. And I think the matrix I saw online, it's a material trick. So people that are on their phone or distracted by life or distracted by the news and wanting to talk about that or focus on that or be in their phones, they're not present and open to connect. They're open to be brainwashed and told what they should pay attention to. While they're not in that situation, they're in a happy, open walking area to connect with anyone that passes by, but they're not open to do it because they're in their material world.
Do you understand? You've both seen The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Do you get the idea of the agent?
No, why don't you explain?
You said it. And what it is, if you notice in the movie that people, the NPCs, the people who are just walking around could form into the agent. So Neo, Morpheus would be running around, and then they'd dodge the agents, but then they'd be in the middle of a crowd, and then an agent will pop up, and they would transition to the agent. What that embodies is that everybody's at a certain level an agent. And so when you start going through this ascension and self-awareness process, you will get triggered. And somebody will test and challenge your beliefs and your systems and your way of thinking and your way of believing and way of feeling and how you should perceive the world. And it goes back to, my life is my own. No one can live it for me. But we lose sight of that at times. And when you get triggered and you get angry and you start to defend somebody because you got a political stance or a spiritual stance or a religious stance or whatever those foundational, usually big three are, right? If you get challenged and triggered, you're turning into an agent because you're reciting a program. Yes. And same thing with our parents, right? Our parents have programmed us. So then you flip into an agent when you're reciting an unconscious program.
And did I ever tell you the story about how I've had all these, like, I'm changing the way that I think, right? And you kind of slip back into like being the agent and then like triggering people, and not on purpose, but like, we're at this Catholic wedding. And my mom. You
were brought up Catholic, right?
I was brought up Catholic, and my mom's there, and she's very traditional. Catholic. Yes. And so I was like, decided that it was an appropriate time to say, hey, Mom, we're standing in line to go to the buffet. I'm like, I've been doing a lot of reading and like understanding, and I've been praying a lot to God. And I believe that there's only one God, that no matter if you're Catholic or, Buddhist or Hindu, whatever you want to choose, we still worship the same God. And my husband was standing behind me, and he's like, oh my God. My mom was like, what? Catholic is the only religion, like, I can't even believe. And my dad goes, what is going on here?
The agent popped up in her.
Yeah. And I realized right then and there that it's not, I can't change somebody's viewpoint on what they believe. Even I want to be open, and I want to help people understand and open their mind that there's something different than what they've been taught, and that there's a love out there so much better than some of the love that we've been shown that passed down in generations.
Yeah.
But it's not my place to do that. Each person has to see it for themselves. I can talk about it, but I'm not going to change your mind. I'm not going to get in a fight with you. I'm going to stay balanced. And I see your viewpoint, Mom. I do. I see where you're coming from. I see where I'm coming from, but there's a balance in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I had to share that.
No,
it's
sorry
very
there. That's good.
important because I think a lot of people they think about the news or politics and they have to fight to get their point across.
And I think to change the thoughts of the people, they have to understand that whatever you focus on, you experience. So whatever's in the news, whatever you believe about religion, I can share my opinion, you can share yours, and everything's okay. We should be able to do that. But still remember, whatever your brain focuses on, you're going to experience.
Yes.
I'm going to focus on something else. I don't like what's on the news. I don't like anything about ICE. I don't want to watch it. I'm not going to watch it and focus my attention on that.
Yes.
Okay? So other people will watch it and they focus their attention on it and may experience these things.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that that's not in my world right now. I'm not going to experience that for myself and make myself feel in a negative way about a certain situation I can't control, right?
Yes.
So why not refocus?
Yeah. It's like the argument that I hear from people who are like, well, what about all these things going on in the world? And how can you maintain peace, love, and happiness when all this is going on? And it's all things exist at the same time. And it's this understanding that in order to have peace, you have to have the opposite. In order to have love, you have to have judgment or fear, whatever the opposite you define it as. But there's got to be these polarities and understanding that I don't know love without the fear. Mm-hmm. And I don't know fear without the love.
And it's coming into balance between those two. And that's where what we're looking to do, right? And that's what the 5D area is. It's having the balance, saying, I see all of you. I hear all of you. I'm understanding both sides, both like very different sides. But in the end, it's all the same, and I choose to be in the middle.
So then this segues into the last two for the power hour, which is my life is a synchronous orchestration. So everything syncs up. Think of gears in a machine, that everything is lined up, every interaction, every traffic stop, every bit of frustration and joy and high and all these things in between are all orchestrated to better yourself and to improve the world around you, your reality. And you may serve a purpose to somebody else that is not directly connected to you, but it serves the purpose for the greater whole. And then the last one, so the synchronous orchestration is just like everything's lined up. Mm-hmm. Trust the process. Know that you're here for a reason at this time, in this moment, with this situation. And you allow that to then just go, okay, catch and release. Mm-hmm. I don't have to control this. It's all meant to be. And then as you understand those 11, you go into the 12th one, which is I am free to choose. And that's where I get into the concept of free will. And that's, you're free to choose. You're free to choose to look at the news. You're free to choose and observe it with discernment and go, yes, it's there. How do I want to show up and what type of state of being do I want to embody? And my state of being that I've spent time on to be able to process all of this is going, when I see people fighting against the opposition, I don't see them winning. I see the lack of peace. I see the frustration. I see the anger, and rightfully so. But at the same time, I'm choosing to embody peace and look at it with discernment and go, how do you play this game? You don't play the game. You go somewhere else and you embody a life that people could look at and go, how do you live this way?
Yeah.
How do you operate? What do you do? How are you able to provide for yourself and your family and do these things differently? And you face a lot of opposition in that process, but the road less traveled is often the one that leads to the land that you want to ultimately seek.
I 100% agree, and I'll go back again. I'm so open. I don't on this podcast, but I I chose a long time ago, like over the last 2 years, just to stop watching the news. I don't even go on Google. Like I'll go on Google to search for something, but I'm not looking at like what they're suggesting for me or anything like that. And I've implemented this like no news where I am thing, right? And so then all of a sudden something like major will happen. Like my daughter lives in the city and she's like, did you hear about all the shootings in the city? And it was right by me where I live in River North and did. And I'm like, so you're watching the news again and you're choosing that's going to be your reality if you're thinking about it.
Right. And so it's like create the game, create the game you're in, create the vision for your life you're in. And so when you're watching this other stuff that's not even in your life, it's just on the news.
Right.
Then what are you creating?
Well,
think about that.
And she goes, how are you interacting with people on a daily basis? You don't watch the news. There's nothing for you to talk about with them.
And I think people don't even understand that because they want to do that, because they want to watch the news and embody this negative energy and then discuss the news. What energy are you bringing into this world?
That's what I told her.
You're like creating the news. Because you're envisioning that's what's going on in the world. So
and you
stop creating the negative.
And you have all these negative feelings, like fear of walking down the street.
That's what's creating it. Your fear, like if everyone could get in the embodiment of love and peace and being respectful to everyone, what can that change the world to be?
It's beautiful. Right? And that's the world I choose to live in.
That's the one I want to live in too, so.
There was something that I'm trying to pull up here, which is the HeartMath Institute or HeartMath Institute. This was Joe Dispenza did some pieces on this in some of his books, but they were basically, their mission is to help awaken the heart of humanity. And they've done 30 years of research in the field of psychophysiology, stress, emotion, and heart-brain interactions. And there was a study done where they did like a massive 1,000-person meditation. And it was, here's a statistic. So a large scale study where they took over 61,000 survey participants. And they found that if they meditated on better health and lower statistics on the measurements they were measuring, which was high cholesterol, high blood pressure, that they would reduce their numbers just by simple meditation in a group level. There was also they did a study, I think, where they did the crime rate. They were measuring out the crime rate on a full moon, and then the group meditated.
Oh gosh, I'm so bad with words. It's something, they named it. It is an effect, they called it.
Yeah.
And it was basically brought the
crime rate down
way low. And so it's not, there's a difference what people are talking about, like meditation and praying. There's one way to do it, like saying, I want this person to get healthy and I want this and I want that and I want them to get rid of their cancer. Instead of saying the right meditation and the way they did this to bring the crime down was to feel that has already happened.
That's what I was going to say.
And say that, if we're praying that Michelle is healthy and I know and I'm seeing her healthy. It's like the guy in the rain dance. Did I tell you guys about the rain dance thing?
No.
So the guy, somebody I was listening to was talking about this, a friend of mine was talking about this rain dance and how he was this guy was going to go out to the rain dance with the shaman. And he was all excited to go to the rain dance. And so they go out, they go to the cornfield, the shaman gets out of the car, he's closes his eyes and he's just laying, standing there being, and the guy is in the car okay, when is this rain dance going to happen? About 5 minutes later, he comes back to the car and he goes, all right, I'm hungry, let's go. And he's like, what about the rain dance? We were going to do the rain dance. And he's like, no, all I did was I did my rain dance. I don't want rain. I sat there and I envisioned the rain coming in on my face and how wonderful it felt and how it was cleansing me. And I also then saw the crops growing and thought how beautiful they are. And from there, I moved on and I saw my family eating all of the crops and I saw the happiness on their face. And that is beautiful, and the rain already happened.
Because it's all energy, and what you're envisioning and what you're feeling about it is what's being created, right? So if people are in a negative state, you're creating negative situations. So if you can embody, like what you say about even nonprofits that focus on fighting against poverty or whatever, it's like, but you're talking about poverty.
Yeah, breast cancer. You're
right.
talking about prevention for breast cancer, but
Right.
what are you focused on?
Right.
Breast
So
cancer.
let's focus on something else.
And that's why it's
Healthy
so
bodies.
prevalent for it to come back.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah,
Because
it's part of the-
You're focused on it. You're now, you're a survivor. You're involved in all of these things and you're thinking about it. And
Prevention of anger. Let's focus on prevention of anger. Let's focus on prevention of anger. Hey, don't be angry. Don't be angry. Like, it's like, okay.
And what happens?
Yeah.
All of a sudden just saying it,
It's
I'm
like,
like, why are you talking about
I know. Stop
But
saying
take
the
like,
word.
all right, so news is a group meditation in this HeartMath Institute, just to bring it back to this point, because I was really looking for this stat. I was just kind of reciting things in the past when I was looking up this prior to you talking about that. All right, so the thing that I wanted to claim was the group meditation study back in 2007, I believe, it had a group of 1,700 participants, and the national homicide rate under this meditation declined more than 28% compared to the previous baseline period. So this was like, I think over a period of time. It wasn't just one night. It was like they did it over a period of time, if not months, if not years. But it just makes sense.
So we can be energetically doing these things in our home without having to go out in the world and say we're fighting against homicide, we're fighting against murder, we're fighting against whatever.
Imagine a broadcasting of
Peace.
doing the power hour, and everybody just processes and goes through that, but it's not instant gratification. It's not a dopamine hit. So we're competing against the third dimension, which is instant gratification, materialism, dopamine hits. Look at me. It's everything outside of yourself. If you're getting any joy, any excitement, any thrill, or any depression or negativity, and it's caused, if you can point the finger at it, then you're in that third dimension, because you're based on your senses. It's based outside of yourself. And as soon as you start to retract it and start to look at, why am I angry? Why am I feeling this way? Why is my body hurting? And you're looking at it from a within standpoint. Now you start to ascend.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes into like, okay, Christina's adrenal fatigue. She's going above and beyond it and understanding that she needs to rest.
That's
She needs to
powerful.
recover. And that's the strength she's going to gain as a result of this. Is what I call going hard on making it easy. Like, you got to go hard on not doing the things you used to do.
Yeah.
Which was working your ass off and constantly busy.
Yeah.
And that's hard work. But then it gets easy.
Yeah.
And
I was telling Michelle I had to let go of an opportunity that I was just like, my focus is this, right?
Yeah.
My focus is spreading the word to enhance people's consciousness collectively so that we can become more intuitive, more loving, more blissful. And if I stay busy advising companies in areas that I am not passionate about, it's draining my energy, giving me less energy to do something here. And it was hard for me because to let that go.
Yeah.
Because that's how I control what's going on in my life, right? So it's a learning experience for all of us.
And what I think is powerful about what both of you guys are saying is it all starts with just ourselves. We can all each control ourselves. So be the change you want to see in the world, embody it, be at peace, heal yourself, take care of yourself. And the energy of this world would be so much better if everyone just did that, right? So, I mean, we don't have to do so much. We don't have to fight so much.
Well,
we
and
just embody
it's
and
very,
take care of
it's
ourselves.
very hard because I watch my husband and he's in corporate America and I see how they're in like back-to-back meetings and like they push their people so hard. But what I told him yesterday was, you know what I see you guys doing? I'll liken it to like an ant farm. Okay. And I said, the best way that I can see what's happening is like in an ant farm, you have they all intuitively know exactly what their place is and what they need to be doing. Now, if they didn't know that, all the ants would be, and they know when to rest and when to work and how that's all going to work and how it's going to go naturally. Right. what I see is happening in a lot of companies, including his, is like the ant farm has no direction. And so all these ants are running around scrambling, pretending like they're busy or they really are really busy, but they're not putting their effort into the right like activity so that they could eventually rest and look back at like how great they've all done.
There's a quote by Chris Williamson who he was talking about. He's like, at every level, like the higher you go, they're all idiots. Like everybody's an idiot, just like not knowing what the fuck they're doing at the highest of levels. And how I take that is like, why are you doing this? Why do you put so much weight and energy into this? And really is start to assess people based on their level of peace, not their level of financial success or their status or position that they hold somewhere. It's what's your level of peace now? You know,
well, that's the question, right? That a lot of leaders and like companies, and I'll bring it back to companies since I'll close it off this way, but it's like, what are you doing this for? What are you doing this for?
Yeah.
Are you doing it because you think you need to be busy and like there's these things, or are you doing it because there's a certain outcome you're trying to control? And if you're trying to control something, that's absolutely not the right reason to be doing it. So is there a greater purpose? Is there something that you're going to accomplish? And what is it? And feel it. And leaders in companies, because this is more of a spiritual thing, they think, well, I can't bring like religion and like these things. No, you can, because it's all about like, what is the purpose of the company? What's the final outcome? Is it to kill the people that are working there because you're making them work 40,000 hours a week? And there's, what is the outcome?
But then it all comes down to mindset, and why do they think they need to work so many hours or in the way they're working to accomplish the goal when they can be envisioning the ability
it goes down to what we were talking about earlier about being able to own your own inner peace. And to me, it's like we have to get out of these rules and these laws that are governing our society. So a company hires me, they expect me to work 40 hours a week. Okay, you're an executive, I expect you to work 80 hours. Okay, so then these expectations, like Justin, I don't know if it was the last podcast or this podcast, but going with into something with no expectations is so much better. And having like then saying, well, I expect you to work 40 hours a week, and I don't care if you're here or not, you need to be showing up. Well, then all of a sudden you're setting up an environment that says, I don't care if you got your job done in 5 hours and you're really good at it, you still have to be here for another 35 hours. And now you're creating chaos in that culture because you're the ant running around throwing things because you're like, I have to be here for 35 hours. And then you're collapsing the ant farm. Do you know, like, does it make sense? Like,
it does. It's just a big chaotic illusion of order that there is no order. It's completely out of order. It's out of our nature. It's again, it's a without presence and experience, meaning without means outside of you. And I like to reiterate that because I didn't know that for a long time. As within, so without, right?
And, or as above, so below.
Yeah, exactly. That's as above, so below, as within, as without.
Be the shift.
So it's like inside is outside and outside is inside. So if you start to not judge the outside that is around you, the people, the situations, the scenarios, and start to just look at them as a mirror of reflection of what's going on internally, now you start to look within and you start to shape the outside of you, right? And corporatocracy, it's like nobody's going to run the business like the business owner. And then at that point, you got to look at, well, what is the focus and what is the mission and what is the goal? And alignment is the key to, I think, all things in terms of peace and harmony. And you got to be willing to make different choices and do different things than what most people do, because that is, I think we get caught up in other people's goals, dreams, and aspirations, and we lose ourselves in the process. So you have to be aware of why you're doing these things. Why are you pursuing this? Why are you working with this coach or this mentor? Why are you aligning with these people? Or why do you need to detach from these relationships?
Well, and actually the question then too, if you're looking at like a company, right, and you're an employee, it all comes down to, and this is going to be really, people are going to not align with this, but I'm going to say it anyways. The government is way too involved in our lives. And so when you when you get a company together and you say, I have to have employees, why do you think they want employees? They want employees because the government has said, everybody who is working, I get a certain percentage of their paycheck. And now all of a sudden the government owns the employees. The companies really don't. These companies don't want to pay all these taxes for, to have employee taxes and all this stuff, but it suits the government. So why are we letting this happen? Why are we letting this happen? Uber had an amazing setup with people being on 1099, giving them the control of their life, letting them work here while they have a second job, or they could go do an Etsy shop or do whatever. Well, now the government's getting involved saying, well, you're screwing the people out of benefits, out of all these things. No, the people have the ability to get the benefits. They want these choices. Uber does have W-2 employees that want to be committed to that, but they stepped in because Uber got too big. And they're like, we're missing out on that money. So
this is where, it goes into like, okay, that's going on in this third dimension where people are being constricted and controlled, right? Mm-hmm. And it's an example of, okay, what not to do. And government being that third dimension entity that's controlling and going, okay, so how do I step outside of that? Yeah. It's an example of, okay, I see what they're doing, so I'm going to go a different route, and whatever that looks like, whether that means you need to go online or you need to do something, but it's all serving a purpose, right? It's all like, I don't like this. This sucks.
So you can't, I feel like that's the thing where we have to raise our consciousness and come together and realize this is mind control.
It's a mindset, right? It's a mindset. That's why we're doing the podcast. We're just one person, each of us. We're sharing our thoughts with people, and they got to take on and the belief that we're sharing, that it's your mindset, that you're controlled by taxes, you're controlled by government, you're controlled by all these things, and you have no control over your life, which is not true. Like why he's saying that person can decide to do something different.
And this is what, like, 1 in a million are going to get it and go, you know what, everybody's going left, I'm going to go right.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to start looking differently.
The more we can
But then 1 turns into 2. 2 turns into 4. 4 turns into 8.
Yes.
And the beauty of this and how truth and love really work is there is disproportionately stronger. So you could have 100 people embodying the truth and being themselves and totally in tune and in touch with presence and love and that higher consciousness and self-awareness, let's just call it that. They are going to outshine and outlive the ones who are in the drudge and the deep, dark depths of 5 senses and nothing else. Mm-hmm. And that's going to wake up a group of people within that realm to then ascend and go into the next realm or the next dimension. But it's not the group of 100 pointing the fingers and going, you need to do this, you need to do this, look at us. They're just embodying it. They're just living it. And then again, the subconscious, the internal, the consciousness within is going to call that nature out in people to start waking up. And that's what we're experiencing now.
Well, oh gosh, you're going to kill me for bringing this up. In Iceland, they had a collective consciousness movement. I think it was in the 70s. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. But
they basically were the longest running democratic, I think it was, and don't quote me on this, like 1,000 years old or something crazy. Mm-hmm. And a bunch of the young population got together and basically upheavaled or rebelled against the government. And they created a new Democratic Party or whatever it was they had such a strong need to protect information that they created this new way of governing their people. Mm-hmm. And it's a small example of how when you can bring people together you can really change. You're not stuck in that way. It goes back to, Michelle, what you're talking about like it's all in your mind. You're not stuck there. You get enough people together for a cause and we can change those things.
And it's about conversation, like sharing your thoughts with other people so that they can see your side. And so why podcasts, why people being able to talk about whatever they think should be paramount and so important for everyone to understand that that's important. We should be able to say whatever we want to say, and someone either can decide to listen or not. And the ones that want to listen can help change the world. And that's it.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's a conversations I have with people who are very well educated and have, diplomas behind their name and a lot of credentials and those types of things. And I'm not fitting them into a box, but if we get caught, let me put it this way. If you get caught up in having titles and academia to prove that you know something, what it just proves is that you know how to recite something that someone else wrote and discovered at a baseline. And we all have to start with that. Like I have to try something that somebody else did. And then from there, I start to make and mold it my own.
Yeah.
And then you start to just shed off all the things that may be their prejudices and judgments and limitations and programs. And you start to release yourself from being bound to this study or this school or this subject matter that you supposedly are an expert in. And I feel like that is something that if you look at the greatest teachers in the world, and I'm talking about the mystics, I'm talking about the ones who are
like Jesus.
Like they're not creating followers. They're just leading by example.
They're leading a change in feelings. And like, that's why people talk about like Jesus being the biggest teacher, right? He had Christ compassion. He was teaching compassion. Mm-hmm. He came at a time when the Jewish religion was like turning to greed and all these things, anger and doing things for the wrong reasons. And he was teaching people compassion.
Yeah, there's
and he wasn't trained by some high school or, wasn't a CEO of some company. He was a person living this life saying, come with me. I'll lead you to this love and this compassion.
Well, there's like you're reading on these books like the 12 Laws of the Universe and these universal, let's just call them laws. If you want to embrace them as that,
codes.
You could. Yeah,
I like codes better than laws. It's ingrained in our DNA. Just codes.
Oh, yeah.
Look at nature and there's patterns. Look at nature and there's structure and there's synchronicities and things that just are like embedded into every aspect of life. And you can look at that and go, okay, there's a pattern there. There's something there. It's telling me something. So, going back to with what Jesus was speaking about this is what I was going to go into. Neville Goddard explained, like Jesus is a personification of Christ consciousness, and he's not the Christ. It's Christ consciousness. And Neville Goddard, I love how he breaks it down where it's your imagination is the Christ consciousness. What is the greatest tool that we embody? It's our ability to imagine things above and beyond what our five senses can actually take in.
Well, that's what the Bible is all written on.
It's a book of the mind.
It's a sacred way of understanding our DNA coding.
Yeah.
And it was meant to be...
it's teaching through story, which is how we naturally learn. And it brings back, it helps you remember your coding and remember who you are. And when you activate that, you ascend and you get into a higher level of self-awareness, which then gets you above and beyond your five senses. So now you're no longer reacting to the outside world. You're creating your world. And now it's hard to do until it's not. That's why I call it going hard on making it easy, because it's like strength training is hard until you just accept it and embody it and are part of it and understand that the outcome is way better than the process. And then you just love the process. And it embodies into everything, hard conversations and everything else.
It's all these things too. It's like it's doing all these things and then realizing that these are concepts and not to take things literally.
And one thing like a scene from the Bible, walking on water, what that really means is rising above emotions. So if we can all rise above emotions and all the negative emotions that we do to protest and fight against things, we can ascend to a higher vision and have a peace. Like, why can't we just all live and be happy and have a good life and envision that that's possible for us and just live it?
Yeah. Why? That's a good question. Or what's stopping? Even better question is what's stopping you?
Yeah, your own thoughts and limitations that you set upon yourself. So if you can start programming yourself and it's the input drives the output. So it's like the people that you're listening to, it's the news or the media, the content, our phones are the most addictive things that we have in our lives nowadays. Mm-hmm. People are just, as you were talking about, walking down the street and not even acknowledging who's around them. They're so embodied into this. And then that drives their joy and it's like dismal. It's like compared to what you could generate and connect with yourself. Yeah. It's just little fractions of what could be. And this is making people operate at a lower frequency. So this is the splitting of the worlds where you're having people who are dependent upon social media content and outside sources to give them the quick dopamine fix. And then that creates a chemical imbalance. And now they're getting sick and now they're dependent on the Western civilization of medicine and all that stuff. So again, you're giving all your power away, where there is a world where you are in touch intuitively to where you can be like the animals and understand you need to migrate north without needing the news to tell you to migrate north.
Yeah.
Like, you need to get out before anybody else gets out, and you just know it intuitively. And it's like you start trusting your gut more. You start being more in touch and tune with the things that we were given already. And this outside source, that's why I was kind of going with the academia. It's like, do I need to learn from somebody because they studied so hard into this, or can I learn from my own experience and be in touch with my own self because the voice is already there?
Well, and learning is like an ongoing thing. It's not like this is why I'm a big proponent of homeschool. And I've done so much research on it. It's about learning is about going down that route of what is my passion and what do I care about and how am I going to learn the most about it so that I can do something great with it. Mm-hmm. And in school, we can't do that with it because we're in an institution. We're in, like we likened it, I think, in another podcast to like jail, because it really is. You're being told you memorize this, do this, and you can learn a lot in school. You can. But you learn the way that somebody else wants you to learn, not the way that you're supposed to learn on your own terms. And then you're memorizing a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's why I am a huge proponent of AI right now, because if we use it correctly, we can pull our kids out of this memorization thing. Mm-hmm. We have the so-called facts and like all these ideas in one place in our systems. We can go and learn and ask questions, and we can bring ourselves to a higher level of consciousness by getting this information quicker and we're not being yelled at and like told what to believe and what to think. We can start to like pull all the information together and ask more and more questions.
Yeah.
And this meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
I want to wrap it up just with one thought here. And it's the most important piece here is getting in touch with yourself, knowing who you are. Like the saying, know thyself. That statement is transcended through time in different cultures all over the place. That is the most important thing to figure out. Once when you get in touch with that and in tune with that, you are whole and you don't need anybody else to convince you otherwise.
That'll do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching Remember You. We talk about the Maharishi effect, which I couldn't think about during the podcast, but we went pretty deep into it. And the more that you learn the techniques that we are talking about, the better off your life is going to be. and the collective lives of everybody that we live here on earth with. So enjoy and have a wonderful day, and tune back in next time. Like and subscribe and share.